This video is going to give you an overview of our upcoming translation module for SmartDocs called SmartDocs for Translation. SmartDocs for Translation reduces the cost and time required to produce translated documentation. Unlike translation memory, SmartDocs for Translation supports component-level translation reuse. This means that your SmartDocs reusable snippet library will now not only store source language snippets, but also all of the translations of these source language snippets. You can leverage these translated snippets to automatically assemble new target language documents from source language content. So let's take a quick look at how SmartDocs for Translation is going to work. As you can see here, I've opened up a new blank document that will contain the steps for installing a PCI video card on my computer. I'm going to execute a search against my snippet library, and I'm going to assemble a new source language document using already authored and approved snippets. So we'll first insert the introduction snippet. We'll then insert the motherboard snippet, followed by the video card description snippet, and finally the installation step snippet. So as you can see, we have just assembled a new source language document using reusable snippets that have already been authored and approved and stored in our snippet library. Now let's assume that I want to translate this source language document into a new target language. In this case, we'll assume we're taking this English document into Spanish. Instead of routing this document through my typical translation process, which may include taking the source language document, sending it off to my LSP, and having them rely on translation memory, I can use SmartDocs for Translation to automatically check to see if any of these snippets have already been translated into my target language. For any of the source language snippets in this document, I can click on the Properties button for that snippet, and I can look at the Translations tab, and this tab is going to show me any of the target languages that this source language snippet has already been translated into. For this introduction snippet, we can see that it has already been translated into Spanish. If we take a look at the next snippet, we can see that this snippet has some translations, German and French, but it has not yet been translated into Spanish. And if we take a look at the remaining snippets inside of this document, we can see that these snippets have not been translated to any target languages. So now when it comes time to translate this document into a target language, I can use the translation button on the SmartDocs ribbon, and I can prepare this document for translation. In the Prepare for Translation dialog, I can select any number of target languages to prepare my source language document for. In the example today, we'll say that we want to translate our source language document into Spanish. When I click the OK button, for each of the target languages that I have selected, SmartDocs is going to create a new copy of this document and replace any of the source language snippets with the translated version of that snippet. Once you have prepared your document for translation, we can come back to Windows Explorer and we can see all of the target language documents that SmartDocs for Translation has generated for us. In this case, here we can see the source language English document that we've been working with, and here is the Spanish document that SmartDocs for Translation generated for us. Let's go ahead and open up the Spanish document and take a look at it. As you can see, SmartDocs automatically detected that our introduction snippet had a Spanish translation, and therefore in our target language document, SmartDocs has replaced the source language snippet with the translated target language snippet. The remaining snippets in this document do not have a translation available in our target language, so SmartDocs has included the source language snippet and has provided us formatting to indicate that these snippets need to be translated. The formatting that is used to indicate that a snippet needs to be translated is completely configurable by you. So this document is the document that we would then take forward and we would send forward through our translation process. Whether you're doing in-house translation or you're dependent on a language service provider, you can send this document as is and take it forward through your translation process as you do today. When your document comes back from your translation process, it will look something like this. As you can see, we now have a fully translated document into Spanish. The introduction snippet did not require translation because this source language snippet was already translated into our target language. However, the remaining snippets in this document were translated. These were source language snippets that did not have a Spanish translation, so these snippets have been translated as part of our translation process. As you can see, for each of these snippets, SmartDocs is still recognizing this content as a reusable snippet. However, we do not yet see the language code identifier as part of the snippet name. That is because we have not yet loaded these translated snippets back into our reusable snippet library. We can load these translated snippets into our reusable snippet library using the Import from Translation option from our Translation menu. The Import Translation option will upload each of your translated snippets into your SmartDocs reusable snippet library, and it will associate that translated snippet with the source language snippet. So now you have the snippet in its source language and in its target language stored in your SmartDocs reusable snippet library. Now that we have uploaded each of our newly translated snippets, you can now see that the target language code identifier is included as part of the snippet name. This is an indicator to you that each of these snippets has been successfully loaded into your reusable snippet library and are now available for you as you create new documents using your source language snippets. Let's now go ahead and reopen the original source language document that we were working with, and let's prepare this document again for translation to Spanish, and let's see what happens this time. As you can see, this is the original document that we were working with that contains 4 reusable snippets in our source English language. If we now prepare this document for translation again to Spanish, we will see that SmartDocs will automatically recognize that we have translations for each of these source language snippets in our target language. If we go back to Windows Explorer and we open our newly generated target language document, you can now see that SmartDocs has detected that each of our source language snippets has already been translated into Spanish, and SmartDocs has automatically replaced each of those source language snippets with its Spanish equivalent. Because you are reusing already translated content at the component level, this document does not even need to go through your translation process. Your source language snippets only need to be translated one time, and then anytime those source language snippets are reused again, the translated snippet will automatically be inserted into your document. If you are interested in learning more about SmartDocs for translation and how it can save your team time, money, and improve the quality of your translations, please contact us using the information on your screen. Live demonstrations and evaluations of the software are available.